8-25mm f4 lens was just launched about a month ago, and I will compare it to the 7-14mm f2.8 lens that was introduced way back. And in this video I'm going to compare and see which one is worth getting. Or maybe both of them. We don't know yet. Hi there, my name is Peter Forsgaard and I am a professional photographer from Helsinki, Finland. And before we start, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the notification bell so you get notified when there is a new video online. Also, giving a thumbs, which means liking this video, helps a lot. My channel is all about you getting to be a better photographer and of course about gear, and this time comparing two ultra-wide angle lenses from Olympus. And before we get into the first one, which is the specs, where I compare the specs of these two lenses, a disclaimer, both of these lenses are mine, and I bought the 7-14mm years ago and just got a few hours ago the delivery guy delivered the 8-25mm f4. And OMDS/Olympus has not asked me to do this video, nor do they see this video, and everything that I say is my own opinion. And let's start with the specs. The size of these lenses are quite similar. The 8-25mm f4 lens is a slightly smaller lens. It weighs 411 grams and the 7-14mm is 434 grams. So there is a bit, not a big, but a bit difference in the weight. So if you want to go out hiking with the lens, maybe that a little more than 100 grams is a decisive thing. The reach of the new 8-25mm f4 is of course a lot better because it goes all the way to a standard lens, and that's why this 8-25 is quite versatile lens for many things. You can use it for the same things as the 7-14, plus you can use it as a standard lens too. And this 8-25 might be the lens that I start using on my everyday or when I go out for a photo walk, for example, and also for my travel lens. It's a quite versatile lens, and it has a very versatile focal length range too for those, cityscapes with 8mm, and then those maybe street portraits and normal street photography with the 25mm lens, which the 7-14 cannot do because it's only 14mm. And here is a difference how the angle of view is with these lenses. Here is the 7mm focal length, and here is the 8mm focal length. As you can see, there's a small difference. The 7mm in 7-14mm lens is, let me check so that I say the correct numbers, is, where do I have it? Right there. It's 114 degrees, and with the 8mm on this 8-25mm lens is 107mm. So there's a slight difference. If that's something that you need a bit wider, then the 7-14 is better for you. But as you see, the difference is not that big. And both lenses has weather sealing, and they come with the lens hood. And I think lens hoods are really important. It protects the front element and also protects it from hitting something and protects it from dust. And also, if you're photographing against the sun, it will reduce some flares too, because the best image quality is when the front element is in the shadow. So it will block the light from hitting and making flares that might ruin your image. Of course, sometimes flares might be something that you want, but then you want to decide yourself and not let the lens without a lens hood make your decisions for you. And what about the fastest aperture? Well, the 7-14 is f.8 and the new 8-25 is f4. And is there any significant difference in this? Of course, it's one stop, so the older lens gets one more stop light sucked into the sensor, which might be decisive. But in everyday photography, I personally don't see that there is any big difference with one stop. You know, f4 is quite good because then you can get the lens to be a bit smaller. If this new lens was f2.8, it would be a lot bigger, and then, might not be that lucrative to have. But there's one genre where that one stop might be a big thing, and that's astrophotography and also nighttime photography, because you get more light sucked into this sensor. Especially in cityscapes at night, you get a very good image stabilizer, so the one stop might not be that big thing. But in astrophotography, there is a difference. Or a thing that matters when you have a faster lens. Then let's talk about the usability. Why would I talk about usability of a lens? Because, you know, you just stuck it in and start photographing. Are there any things that are more convenient or more important? I mean, maybe image quality. Well, I will talk about the image quality, don't worry. But usability is a big thing it's a big thing with cameras, and it's also a big thing with lenses. And both of these lenses are really easy to use. Well, most lenses are easy to use, but very convenient to use. They both have LF and button, and they both have MF clutch. Both features are really good to use if you're used to it. And especially for me, MF clutch is something that I use quite a bit. And especially on a wide-angle lens, which is more suitable, all these ultra-wide angles that are more suitable for landscapes and cityscapes. Usually there is no hurry. I don't need the AF. I can use manual focus. And it actually is a funny thing. It slows you down a bit. You might think of the composition a bit more when you start focusing manually, because you have to, it takes a bit more time, and then you have more time to see that. Autofocus sometimes tend to make us a bit, or make us shoot a bit faster, and that might not be a good thing. And what else? Yeah, then the biggest difference, in my opinion, is with this 8-25, you can use normal filters. You don't need this kind of bulky filter holders that you need for 7-14mm f2.8 lens. There are many things that makes the normal filter a lot better option. Because, first of all, they are a lot smaller, it's easier to carry around, you don't have to have big bulky filters, and the normal filters are also more, or cheaper, they're not that expensive. Like the filter holder is quite expensive for 7-14mm lens, and it's harder to get. You have to dig down or dig the internet for a while to get this. It might take some time, and even if you might not even find it. But 72mm filters that goes with this lens are easy to get. Unfortunately, I don't have them right now. I haven't bought them yet, and might not even buy them, because I do have 77mm filters that I can use with step-up ring, which I don't have yet. It was sold out from the places that I try to find it, so I need to find it first. Then I can use the 77mm filters. No use getting, dedicated filters for this lens, because filters are quite expensive. Using a step-up ring is a lot wiser thing to do. But I think the usability of filters is one of the biggest things for, maybe I show this side, is a lot better, because it's easier to carry around rather than these big bulky filters. And there's also another thing. When you add these big filters to the 7-14mm 14mm lens, wind is affecting your photograph. If it's a really windy day, it might give some, some shake to your image, and it might not be tagged sharp, which you might want when you're doing landscapes. But let's get into the next one, which is image quality. I did the image quality test a bit differently this time. Usually I just go out and shoot with both lenses if I compare lenses and compare the results like I would normally photograph and see what the real life photography different, or the quality difference in real life photography is. But this time I took images of a brick wall and wanted to see what is the difference in sharpness when we compare both, at the widest. The other one 7 and the other one 8. And clearly you can see that the 8-25mm f4 at full open is a bit sharper in the corners than the 7-14mm f2.8 at 2.8. And the same goes if we stop down the 7-14mm to f4. It's still a bit unsharper. Is that a word? Whatever. But you know what I mean. The 8-25 is a bit sharper. And then when we go to f8, I think the difference is gone. So if you're really into really sharp lenses, then 8-25 is a bit sharper. In the middle, there is no difference, but in the corners there is. But then does it really matter? I don't think it does when you take just normal images, which I took a few. You don't really see the difference. I don't think the image quality is an issue with these lenses. It doesn't matter which one you get, you will get good image quality. What about my final thoughts? As you probably know, I'm a big fan of this 8-25mm lens, and think that it is a better choice at the moment if we compare it to 7-14mm f2.8 lens. This does not mean that the 7-14mm lens is a bad lens, but if you already have it, then no problem. Just keep on using it. If you're happy and you have the other focal lengths covered and that's okay for you, then it's no use of getting this lens. But if you are in a market for a ultra wide angle lens for your micro four thirds, then the 8-25mm f4 is a better choice in my opinion. For the reasons that you probably guess that I've already said many times. Smaller, better reach, more versatile focal lengths, and the ability to use normal filters. There are those 4 things which I think makes this lens a better deal. Image quality wise, no difference. They're both really, really good. But there's one more thing in favor of this lens, the 8-25, and that is the price. The 8-25mm f4 lens is around 1,000 euros / dollars at the moment. The 7-14mm lens is 200 to 300 euros dollars more. And that's quite a lot of money. You can do a lot of fun things with 200 to 300 dollars, and still you have a very good lens, and actually a better lens. And if you want to get these lenses, there are affiliate links in the description below. You don't pay any extra if you use those lenses. I get a small commission, so it's a win-win situation. You get a great lens and I get a small commission to support my free content that I'm making for you. Also, if you're not sure yet, you might want to watch these videos. The top video is for 8-25 and then the bottom one is for 7-14mm. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.